Sorry, I had to interrupt my video because there was some noise disturbance at home. So I will continue from where I left. Probably we were discussing about the complete characterization of tDNA, and based on the northern hybridizations, they have characterized that this specific tDNA has got 8 transcripts. I think based on the characterization they call this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6A, 6B. And in case of an octopine there is a difference because it has got an additional 7 one, and the 3 of this and this are totally different in fact. So now the virulent genes are going to be the TMS, TMR and TML. Suppose if you remove the TMS, the undifferentiated cell will transform into a shoot, or if you remove TMR, roots will appear, and if you remove the TML, the size of the whole cell will enlarge in fact. So now that is the virulence of these things. I think so they will not, because of the presence of these, that will not going to be differentiated. So these cells will multiply and they continuously supply the amino acids which are required for the synthesis of napolene and octopine. That is the strategy. That is what we discussed. Now how this tDNA is going to be integrated? The integration is quite random in a plant chromosome. It is not going to integrate in a specific region. So it will integrate randomly. During the integration is again a question is that whether one copy is going to be integrated or multiple copies are going to be integrated. Even though there are multiple copies, because all of them are not stable, only one copies are going to be stable and remain in the system and will be functionally active in fact. So for the integration, the most important one is in case of both tDNA of napolene and octopine, this region is important. We call this as a border sequence. We have a right border sequence and we have a left border sequence, that is in the napolene, and another in case of an octopine. Again, I think we have a left border sequence and R border sequence. Now this border sequence has been characterized quite well. They found out that it is a repetitive units of around 25 bases. 25 base things are being repeated here, and these repetitive regions are responsible for the integration of this tDNA into the host chromosome. And when it comes to the characterization of the genes, so now this one has got a promoter. We know that this is a plasmid DNA from a prokaryotic microorganism, that is a gram-negative soil bacteria. But this particular gene is highly functional in case of a eukaryotic. We all know that the eukaryotic and prokaryotic gene and other regulatory elements are totally different in fact. But now this is an evolutionary adaptation in such a way that these ones has got the promoters of a prokaryotes. But once it is transferred into a eukaryotic chromosomal DNA, now these promoters, even though the promoters has got the qualities of a prokaryotes, it is going to be evolutionary adapted such that it is also active in a eukaryotic system, and they do produce, for example, napolene synthase or octopine synthase from this plant cell, and then these enzymes interneutralizing the amino acids, they produce napolene. So this is the overall understanding of a TI plasmid from Agrobacterium tumefaciense, and the tDNA is important. So many transcripts are important, TMS, TML, TMR, but these border sequences are very, very important. Now the question is, using this tDNA or the TI plasmid, how are we generate the vectors so that the gene of our choice can be introduced? So we all know that in case of this TI plasmid, the most critical one is these border sequences. So these border sequences are very important because they will get integrated. It doesn't really matter what type of genes you are going to provide here in fact. So now, so here you can take a gene of our choice, and then it can be, for example, you know there are jumping genes characterized in the maize, and we also have transposons, and usually these transposons harbors antibiotic resistant gene and so many things in fact. Several transposons can be integrated into the plant vectors with the help of this border sequence. So in case of a tDNA, the most critical one is going to be the border sequence. So in case of a plant vectors, so usually we have the PBR322. In the PBR322, I think we are going to incorporate these border sequences. So in order to see the selection, how are you going to identify that I have a clone? So now we are going to have the NOS. So for example, Napoleon synthase. So because of the presence of this NOS, so we can characterize the clone by identifying the Napoleon product. Okay, now, so usually most of the vectors are modified of PBR322. That will provide the basic genetic material. So in the PBR322, I think we are going to convert that into a plant vector. So using the tDNA of a TI plasmid, in which these promoters, the border sequences are going to be introduced. Then we have the NOS. So apart from the identification of the Napoleon with respect to the identification of a clone, so they also use two different marker genes. So one is a kanamycin resistant gene, another one is a methotrexate resistant gene. In fact, this resistant gene is very important because the plant cells are highly susceptible for the antibiotic kanamycin and another drug methotrexate. So if you take the plant cell or a tumor cell or a callus, and to this particular callus, to the medium, if you add kanamycin, the cells die, or if you had methotrexate, the cell die. So the plant cell are highly sensitive to two compounds, I would say kanamycin, another one is methotrexate. But we also have a resistant gene, kanamycin resistant gene, and also a methotrexate resistant gene. So apart from NOS, so we also introduced some of these resistant gene in the plant vector. So a typical plant vector do not contain all these transcripts. So for the identification, it is a PBR322 vector. To this PBR322 vector, we convert them into a plant vector by incorporating the border sequence so that it will be easily integrated. So within this border sequence, then we are going to have the NOS, that is the Napoleon synthase, so that we can identify the production of Napoleons. So apart from that, we also have another resistant gene, usually like kanamycin resistant gene. So now this is a region in which a foreign DNA can be introduced. So now what happens, like with this particular plasmid, if you you make a protoplast. So now you make this protoplast, then you incubate with polyethylene glycol, then this vector DNA in presence of calcium chloride. So now these cells, this nucleic acid will integrate into this cell. So now there is a mechanism in which because of these border cells, it is going to be transformed into the system. Now here the integration is not a homologous recombination like that of an yeast. So the integration, on careful analysis, probably you must study about what is a bacterial conjugation. So the bacterial conjugation mechanism is employed in the integration of these things, because in case of a yeast vector, we do require repetitive units, but here we do not require any repetitive units, in fact. So with this border sequences, it can be so this is how the plant vectors are easily designed for recombinant DNA technology. So using these vectors, we can introduce a specific gene of our choice. For example, Bt cotton, Bt brinjal, as well as in case of the golden rice. These are the few examples in which using the recombinant DNA technology, a specific gene has been introduced. So now with this, I will also try to explain how the transposable elements and other things are going to be working out. So now this is a overall summary. Especially this is very important with respect to what we call this as an integration of the plant vector or an animal vector into a plant cell or an animal cell. We all know about what we call this as a transposable element. Okay, when you especially the work of Barbara McClintock, so they are called as the jumping genes, in fact. So in the jumping genes, I think on detailed studies we can study about the class 1 jumping genes, another one is going to be a class 2 jumping genes. We are going to study also about the structure of various viruses. Then these are all the transposable elements present in yeast. These are the transposable element present in Drosophila, and a similar structures also present in the long interspersed nuclear elements, the line and the sign. These are the repeated units present in the eukaryotes, especially in case of the humans. We will try to understand like what is the similarities, because in the previous one I think we discussed about the right border and the L border, but now in case of these transposable elements, the borders, the LTR, long terminal repeats, LTR, these are all very important. Suppose if you just look into the structure of a retrovirus, because these viruses do integrate, because we know that there is a lytic cycle and we also know there is a lysogeny cycle. Probably we will discuss that when it comes to the animal vectors, in fact. So usually when you do study about the typical structure of a retrovirus, so we have the LTR. So these are the important regions, very important. Now there is a gag region, because this gag region is very important for the replication of the genetic material. Now we have the Pol gene. Now we have the envelope gene, in fact. The Pol gene is the one, in case of a retrovirus, it will code for the enzyme retroviruses, in fact. Then we have the envelope gene, in fact. I think you have studied about the lytic cycle and the lysogeny cycle in case of the phage vector. So similarly, we have the gag one, we have the Pol region, and there is an envelope region. Now the envelope region is the one which synthesizes a lot of the envelope proteins. So once we do have the envelope proteins, now whatever the DNA which is going to be synthesized during the replication process is going to be encapsulated, then a viable viral particle is going to be synthesized. So now this is a typical structure of a retrovirus and its organization, but for the integration this LTR is important. Now when it comes to the transposable element, now this is a TY1, this is a transposable element in case of a yeast, in fact. So when you try to understand the structural details, so this has got the LTR sequence, which is important for the integration. Then we have the gag region, which is important for the development. Then we require the Pol region, which is for the reverse, the transcriptase enzyme. But the envelope region is completely lost. So there is no synthesis of coat protein. So now, except these coat proteins, we have the retain of this gag region and we have the retain of this Pol gene, in fact. So now when in case of an yeast, what happens? This is functional and this is functional. That results in the development of a new DNA. For example, here it is a class 1. So now this is the typical example of a virus. Now this is a class 1 type of a transposable elements. So in case of a class 1, we have the gag region and then we have the Pol region. So usually what happens, like if this one wants to multiply, so because of the action of the gag and because of the action of the polymerase, I think we have the RNA, then we have the reverse transcriptase, we are going to have the DNA. So usually this genetic material has to be encapsulated in the envelope or the envelope protein. But since we don't have the envelope, now the question is, what do we do with this newly synthesized DNA? Now this DNA has got all this LTR. So what happens, because of the presence of this LTR, this will get integrated into a chromosome elsewhere. So now this is a class 1 transposable element. Because of the action, new DNA is going to be synthesized. Since new virus particle like structures is not possible, because since we don't have the envelope region, this DNA is going to get incorporated elsewhere. So as a result, so now the transposable elements, so it is a stable one, but it will produce several transposable elements and integrated in all over the chromosome, because this is a typical one what you are going to find in yeast, and it is also so common in case of a Drosophila. So because of that, I think we are going to generate lot of mutants, varieties in case of a Drosophila. So now you know, like, I mean, how these transposable elements are all originated, or how structurally they are very much similar to that of a virus. But only thing is the envelope proteins is missing, but all other components are there in fact, so that it can multiply, but it cannot encapsulated into the capsid or the head and tail, whatever we are going to discuss. So as a result, this is going to get incorporated elsewhere. So in case of a class 1 jumping genes, so the first the transposable element is a stable element, then it will make several copies and make sure that these copies is integrated elsewhere. So we are going to get more number of copies integrated all over the chromosome. All right. Now this is class 2 one. What happens, like, we have the chromosomal, we have the transposable element, because now this transposable element do not have the polymerase enzyme. So what it does, so this will get removed. This region is eliminated and then it get incorporated elsewhere. So now the jumping gene is that, I mean, this is the one typically what Barbara McClintock found. So now there is an element. Now this element is transposed into a different region. So here it is not transported, but it is multiplied. So multiplication is the class 1, and this particular one, transposing from one region to another region, is going to be the class 2 like. So now you got an idea about, like, the structural arrangement of how these transposable elements are there, TY1 yeast and copia in Drosophila, and even in case of line and sign, which is the repetitive units. So open reading frame, another one is going to be the open reading frame, which you code for the reverse transcriptase enzyme. And so that we have, I think now you know why more than 50% of our genetic material is going to be the junk DNA, or it is just a repetitive units in fact. Now that will entirely covers the vectors and the type of vectors and the way in which these things are all arranged, because here we are discussing about, like, how this integration is possible, because we cannot have a plasmid and then we cannot have these vectors will multiply independently in a cell. That is okay in case of a prokaryotes, but in case of an eukaryote it has to get integrated. So integration is very important. In yeast it is a homologous recombination, whereas in case of a plant it is more like a bacterial conjugation. So the left and right border is important, or even in other transposable elements we have the LTR, the long terminal repeats are very, very important. So the next, I think we will discuss about the animal vectors.